Every year, archaeology pushes the boundary of what we know about the past. A single artifact, a fragment of a building, or even the faint trace of an ancient settlement can reshape our understanding of entire civilizations, forcing historians to rewrite chapters of human history. And 2025 has been no exception. So far, a wealth of discoveries has emerged, from newly uncovered Egyptian tombs to the remains of a long-lost Peruvian city, each offering fresh insight into the lives of those who came before us. So today, we're going to explore the top 5 archaeological discoveries of this year, 2025, so far, each more revealing and transformative than the last. Few works of literature have been read, studied, and discussed as extensively as Homer's Iliad and Odyssey. While both epics are filled with larger-than-life heroes, none has captured the imagination quite like Odysseus, save perhaps Achilles. According to the tales, Odysseus was the king of Ithaca, a real island kingdom in the Ionian Sea and a modern municipality just west of mainland Greece. When the Trojan War erupted, Odysseus was among the Greek kings who sailed across the sea to reclaim Helen. Renowned as the master strategist, he was the man behind the Trojan horse, the ruse that finally broke Troy after a decade-long siege. Yet his triumph was followed by a far greater ordeal, a homeward journey that should have lasted months but stretched into another 10 years, delayed by mythical obstacles such as the Cyclops Polyphemus and the sorceress Circe. When he finally returned, Odysseus reclaimed his throne by slaying the suitors who had overrun his palace during his absence. For centuries, many historians have regarded the story as pure myth. Still, some have argued that Homer's epics may contain kernels of historical truth. On Ithaca itself, near the village of Exoge, lies the archaeological site known as the School of Homer. Long recognized as a Bronze Age Mycenaean settlement, the site has fueled speculation about a connection to Odysseus's legendary home. In 2010, archaeologists uncovered the remains of an 8th century BC palace and boldly suggested that it could have been the very palace of Odysseus. Unsurprisingly, the claim was met with widespread skepticism. But in June 2025, new discoveries at the site reignited the debate. Archaeologists unearthed an even older Mycenaean settlement dating to the 13th and 14th century BC. Among the finds were a vast underground system built of monolithic stone blocks, the remains of a sprawling complex, and most strikingly, evidence that the site functioned as an Odysseon, or a sanctuary dedicated to the hero worship of Odysseus. Tiles stamped with his name and a small bronze bust of the king were discovered within the ruins. Scholars believe that during the Hellenistic and early Roman periods, pilgrims traveled from across the Mediterranean to honor the legendary hero. Though the notion of worshiping a mortal figure may seem unusual today, hero cults were a common feature of ancient Greek religion. Blending ancestor veneration with existing Greek mythology and practices, they often involved rituals such as sacrifices and libations. Whether Odysseus himself truly lived remains uncertain, but one fact is clear. To the ancients, he was as real and revered as Heracles or even the gods themselves. Just before we continue with today's episode, look, if everything suddenly shut down tomorrow, the internet, electricity, the networks, oh no, I can't make YouTube videos anymore. Well, would you even know how to make fire? No. No. I'm kind of embarrassed. I think the most I'd know about making fire is to kind of do that thing that Tom Hanks does in that Island movie where he gets trapped on the island where he's like, pss, 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 but then he drills a hole in or something. I don't know. But don't worry, because that's where the book comes in. This is the ultimate guide to rebuilding civilization. It's 400 pages of human innovation, discovery from basics to the bizarre, 180 topics packed with handmade illustrations. You ready to check something out? I'll open this at any page. Let's even choose one purposefully towards the back, and it's going to be beautifully illustrated. It always is. It always is. Now we'll choose one in the middle. It always is. Look at that. What is that? Potter's Wheel. Dope. Look. This is a fantastic book. It is a beautiful book. It is something that will sit on the table in your lounge, and you'll constantly be flicking it open instead of doom scrolling, which is nice, isn't it?
Also, it raised $3.2 million on Kickstarter and Indiegogo, and it shows because this is just a really nice piece of work. Heavy paper, smart bindings, it's just a really nice thing. It's perfect for your shelf, your coffee table, or as a gift. So use the code SIDEPROJECTS10 at the link below, and yeah, just go pick yourself up a copy, why not? SIDEPROJECTS10 at the link below. And now, back to today's video. Of all the dynasties of ancient Egypt, few are as celebrated as the 18th dynasty of the New Kingdom. Beginning around 1550 BC with Pharaoh Ahmosis I's expulsion of the Hyksos, the dynasty endured for nearly 300 years until 1292 BC. During that time, Egypt experienced its golden age under rulers like Queen Hatshepsut and Amenhotep III, an era marked by military expansion, immense wealth, and the construction of monumental temples of Luxor and Karnak. The dynasty also produced figures of enduring fascination like Akhenaten, who controversially attempted to replace Egypt's traditional religion with a form of monotheism, and Tutankhamun, whose tomb, discovered in 1922, stunned the world with its wealth of treasures. For over a century after Tutankhamun's tomb was uncovered, no other royal tomb from the dynasty was found. All were accounted for except for one, the tomb of Pharaoh Ahmosis II. That changed in February 2025. A British expedition in the western valleys of the necropolis near Luxor announced the discovery of the long-lost tomb, the first royal Egyptian tomb uncovered by a British team since Howard Carter's discovery of Tutankhamun's in 1922. What made the find especially puzzling was its location, nearly 2 kilometers or 1.2 miles outside of the Valley of the Kings, in an area typically reserved for royal women and lesser nobles. So when the team began their investigation, they expected to unearth a minor burial. Instead, they unearthed an empty chamber whose ceiling was still partially painted deep blue and adorned with yellow stars, celestial motifs reserved only for pharaohs. The evidence suggested that they'd found the elusive tomb of Thutmosis II, who ruled around 1493 to 1479 BC, the husband of Hatshepsut and ancestor of Tutankhamun. Though Thutmosis' mummy may have been recovered from a cache of raw remains in the Theban necropolis more than 200 years ago, his original burial site had remained a mystery until now. The chamber itself was accessed through a large staircase and a massive descending corridor, both clogged with rubble from collapsed ceilings and centuries of flood debris. This natural barricade had likely kept the tomb hidden and undisturbed. Upon further study, archaeologists concluded that the tomb had been deliberately emptied only a few years after Thutmosis' death, likely because it had been constructed beneath a waterfall, leaving it vulnerable to flooding. His body and funerary goods appear to have been relocated for protection. Among the most significant finds were fragments of alabaster jars, some inscribed with the names of Thutmosis II and Queen Hatshepsut. Apart from his mummy, these are the first objects ever directly tied to his burial. Beyond solving a centuries-old mystery, the discovery has broader implications. The unusual location of the tomb suggests that Egypt was in a transitional phase in royal burial practices, shifting from traditions of the Old Kingdom toward those that would define the New Kingdom. As such, this find doesn't just shed light on the fate of Thutmosis II, it illuminates a turning point in ancient Egyptian history itself. In 43 AD, Roman legions under Emperor Claudius invaded Britain, beginning nearly 4 centuries of occupation. During this time, Rome transformed the island, introducing new systems of government, engineering advanced roads and forts, and establishing thriving towns. Among the most successful was Londinium, the settlement that would grow into modern-day London. First referenced by Tacitus around 60 AD during Boudicca's rebellion, it was already regarded as a bustling commercial hub and the seat of Roman power in Britain. Although its exact founding date is uncertain, Londinium was almost certainly established shortly after Rome's invasion began. Today, London is a sprawling metropolis of over 9 million people, yet traces of its Roman past still lay beneath its streets. In February 2025, one of the most extraordinary finds of Roman-era London was uncovered at 85 Gracechurch Street in the heart of the city's financial district. The site, slated for redevelopment into a 32-story skyscraper, was first examined by archaeologists who cut narrow trenches into the concrete floor to check for buried remains. To their astonishment, they unearthed a substantial